Hello, friends. Welcome back to Locally Raised. I'm sitting here with my year's supply of spaghetti sauce and tomato soup. It feels really good to have this much food for my pantry shelves. I've never put away a year's supply of spaghetti sauce before. So I want to show you the process that I went through to make and can this sauce with my parents. But first, I need to show you how I got the tomatoes. Yes, I kept a garden this year, but I didn't grow enough tomatoes to be able to make all of this in addition to the other things I made with my tomatoes. So my dad and I went to a local produce auction to buy a lot of tomatoes for all of our supplies of sauce. Other places I've lived, I've not seen produce auctions, but in this area in Pennsylvania, there are small family farmers who bring their produce to an auction where it can be auctioned off to people like restaurant owners and farmers market owners, or someone like myself that just wants to buy bulk food to put away in storage. So I fortunately was able to go with my dad, who's been part of this produce auction world. It's a newer world to me. And he bought the year's supply of tomatoes so that we could make this together. So let me take you back to the Amish auction and show you where this all began. Bright and early in the morning, Dad and I climb into his box truck and start out on the 40-minute drive to the produce auction. Although I grew up in Pennsylvania, I've lived away from the area for about 18 years, so I'm sort of an excited tourist as we pass by a horse and buggy and enter into Amish country. Finally, we arrive at the auction and park in the main parking area, which is right next to the buggy parking. As I look around at the produce being offered up for auction, it's clear that fall is in full swing. We know we're late coming for tomatoes. This just happened to be the time we were able to come this year. Fortunately, we spot a few boxes available. Out of respect for the Amish auctioneer, I didn't film his face, but you can see Dad bidding here with a very subtle gesture.
Here, 5, 6, and 8 here, and 8, 10 here, and 10, and 12 here, and 12, 14 here, and 14 here, and 12, and 14 here, and 12, and 14, and so $12. What's your number? 901. 901 the buyer. $20 here, 20, $10. $10, 10 here, 10, 10, 5. $5, 7 and a half. Here, 5 here, 7 and a half here, 5, 7 and a half here, 5, 7 and a half, 10 here, $10, 12 and a half here, 10, 12 and a half. $15, and 15, 17 and a half, 17 and a half, 20, and $20, and 20, and 20, and 20.
Fortunately, we win the bid for 9 boxes of tomatoes, which, when added to the tomatoes from our gardens, should be enough to make tomato soup and spaghetti sauce for my mom, my sister-in-law, and me. When I arrive at Mom and Dad's house for our canning day, they've already started the cooking process. They always get an earlier start on the day than I do. There's 1 pot full of tomatoes and onions. That will become tomato soup. And the other pot is full of just tomatoes, which will become spaghetti sauce. The tomato soup mixture is then passed through a food mill. The seeds and the skins are discarded as waste, and the substance remains. To be sure nothing goes to waste, The discarded seeds and skins are passed through the mill one more time to remove any last bit of juices that could possibly be usable. We then go through the same process with the cooked tomatoes that will become spaghetti sauce, and both pots go back onto the heat to cook down for a bit. Mom and I talk and stir as we wait for the purees to become the right consistency. The tomato soup puree becomes the right consistency first, so we begin the process of adding all of the other seasonings and ingredients. First, Mom blends flour with a few cups of the tomato soup puree and then stirs it into the larger pot of puree to allow the soup to begin its thickening. Honey is added next. The recipe calls for sugar, but we decided to try substituting honey this year. The soup is completed with the addition of salt and butter. Next comes the preparation of the spaghetti sauce. We add minced garlic, wine, and onions. Finally, to the spaghetti sauce, we add a number of herbs and seasonings, which you can find in the recipe posted below. My husband John arrived at this point and said he could smell the sauce from the end of the driveway. The entire backyard smells like an Italian kitchen. Both dishes pass their taste test, so it's time to start canning. We start with the tomato soup because we want to allow the sauce a little more time to cook down and thicken. After 40 minutes of processing, the jars are ready to be cooled. In the end, we've got 3 dozen jars of tomato soup. Now the spaghetti sauce has had enough time to thicken, and it's ready to be canned as well. After 40 minutes of processing, the jars of spaghetti sauce are also ready to start cooling. We canned 30 jars of spaghetti sauce in all. Thanks for joining me today and letting me share this process with you. Please be sure to like and subscribe so I can keep sharing videos with you, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then.